Hello and welcome to the Pretty Extreme podcast. It's been such a long time since I did my last episode, but tonight is this. Well, you could be listening to this in the morning. This is a special episode because we have Amanda Karen in the building.
Howdy.
She is a fellow comedian to the Bay Area scene. So thank you so much for being here. And
nada.
Yeah, no, that's what I was looking for right there. There's a huge audience in the studio. Yeah.
I can barely see there's so many people here.
Well, thank you for being on the show. And this is the Pretty Extreme podcast. It focuses a lot on comedy and mental health, more on mental health because this is kind of like the podcast that got me through my depression and anxiety. And why this is called Pretty Extreme is because every time we have a guest on here, or I have a guest, I make it sound like there's another person. I do have a co-host that comes out once in a while, which is Priscilla Torres. And so I always like to ask anyone who rolls through here is what makes you extreme. I'm sure there's something that's extreme about you. Oh, and you're in the Bay Area scene, right? San Jose.
I
Are you
am.
based out of San Jose?
I live in San Jose, work in the Bay. I have a show in LA this weekend, and I was just in Austin last weekend. But yes, this is where I currently call home.
Yay.
I'm a New Yorker at heart. And
Oh, no
origin.
way.
Yeah.
Okay. So what made you come out here to the Bay?
Grad school, and then accidentally not leaving. You know,
You liked it here?
yeah. As an East Coaster, I was from like a pretty insular like community. I didn't really, and this is mental health related, but I had myopia. Like I didn't understand the concept that like life would, like my world would expand and I would have
Outside
agency
of that.
of my own life eventually.
Right.
I'm like, wow, this is my insular, life here. But I always had this wanderlust for the West Coast. Like the West Coast is, where like
The best coast.
open-minded, smart, like natural people live. So when I finally got out here in my 20s, I was like, oh, I think I can't leave now.
You're like, I fit in, right?
More than a New York, at least.
And so back to what would make you extreme. I mean, that's a big move, right? Because all your family, everybody is in the East.
Yes.
Do you still visit? Do they ever come? Did some of them come out this way?
It's kind of like a quarterly basis. Like, my parents are actually coming to LA this weekend for a wedding.
Good.
We're schlepping down there to meet them. And, that's why I got that gig there this weekend.
Oh, nice. Isn't that great when you're able to get a double whammy? You're like, okay, we can knock out two birds. I can have fun at the wedding and I can do a show in which you can promote. Which one goes first, the wedding or the show?
The show.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right, cool. So you can be on that cloud nine.
I'm super stoked for the like passable Jewish food down there too, because it's pretty pathetic up here in the Bay.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the community, or like, is there an area like for us Filipinos? Like, we know, I don't specifically, no offense, I'm just saying I don't go to Daly City, but Daly City is the place known to have Filipinos. Is there an area like there's a heavily Jewish community?
Have you heard that joke that like the reason it's so foggy is because all the Filipino rice
cooking rice cooking? Yes, I have heard that. Hence, that's why I'm like, I know there's a lot of Filipinos there. I visited the city, but I'm not from there. I'm actually from here, but I'm also not actually from here.
Okay.
I'm from Japan. Like I was born in Japan, but I'm not Japanese. My parents were just there for the military. So that's why I think it's so awesome to hear. I know so many people that aren't actually from San Jose and they fall in love with it.
Yeah. It's funny because most of the people that like I flock to are also transplants.
Yeah.
Like
so
we all followed our weird winding paths
and you're just like implanted into the ground now. You're rooted.
Yeah. I mean, something I'm adding to my set. So I guess this is like a sneak preview, but you asked what made me extreme. And I'm going to come out the gate on my LA show this weekend and talk about like the differences between NorCal and SoCal.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear that. You're definitely going to record that.
Yeah. Dude, at these real comedy clubs, like, I mostly perform at like bars, but at the real comedy clubs, they like record your set very nicely with a nice camera, but they make you pay for it.
Yeah.
They make you pay for your
video. They need to make money from there. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, which makes sense,
I don't mind.
But you're like, Can I record it myself?
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope. Like
exactly.
we will have no tripods
Right.
anywhere. Like my little ghetto, one from online that kind of records everything crooked. So this will be nice to have something a little more legit.
Right.
But I come out and I say, you think we're weird up there, but I'm actually a rebel among weird. I'm in the Bay and I'm straight, monogamous, and cisgendered.
Yeah.
That makes me a total freak up here.
No, I mean, I feel like you're a unicorn. That's all. Yeah.
Especially when I lived in the East Bay.
Yeah.
It was like people thought I was, the enemy automatically.
No.
Because I was like a little normie in that regard. I'm neurodivergent for sure. But anyway, I hope the LA crowd will get a kick out of that.
I'm sure they will. Yeah, I'm sure they'll be like, yeah, she's right. This is exactly how it is. Well, and I was gonna say, what place are you visiting? Because you said there's gonna be good Jewish food there. What area primarily would you say?
I don't know LA very well. I just know that there's not a lot of that going on up here.
Is there a big community? I feel like Mountain View. I know there's a
Israeli, in Mountain View, Palo Alto, but it's scattered around here. To be honest, there's fair amount of yids. That's how Jews.
Is that what it's called?
Jews.
Okay, yeah.
In the East Bay, Oakland, Berkeley,
but it's not as big in LA.
Oh, LA is the West Coast hub. You can get real bagels down there, real
kosher stuff, right?
Yeah. So there's a couple of neighborhoods we're gonna hit up that I can finally have some warm, fresh challah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it on your feed. Yeah.
Although that would make me turn into one of those Instagram
food influencers,
white girl Instagrams with the showing the plate of food.
The food. I mean, you could put it on just on the story because I'd be like, oh yeah. So then it's fast and quick. It's it's gone. It was there for 24 hours. You missed it. Sorry.
Yeah, unless you're a super fan of me, which I don't have many
and then we
yet.
start screenshotting
Exactly.
it. Exactly. Look at all this food she ate. I love
and then
it.
I get to call you on the fact that you screenshot me, and then it becomes about you. Yeah. So. Yeah. But no, I actually brought you. You were so nice to offer me a drink when I walked in, but I said no because I brought you a drink.
Oh.
I schlepped this back in my suitcase this week from Austin, Texas.
How cute.
Where I was for the weekend. Yeah. I brought myself a hard kombucha.
Ooh.
In case you wanted a drinking buddy.
Okay.
Also, I don't know if you like dank IPAs.
Is this alcohol?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I actually don't drink.
You don't drink
alcohol,
okay.
But I will keep it because
Good.
because I do. One, the can looks cool, and then if my man, I actually got a man now. I know it's scary.
I don't know if we're allowed to talk about you, but I want to hear about it.
Yeah. No, we're definitely allowed to talk whatever about we want. But he likes to drink.
Yeah, so it's a pineapple.
I see that
hazy IPA.
It sounds like it's delicious, but me I will probably I wish I could drink. I wish I could, but you are always welcome to. I mean, I usually smoke and stuff, but I don't know. Do you smoke?
I have been known to dabble, but I get nervous that my filter on my mouth will
Oh, that would be even cooler.
It would if we weren't recording.
Right. Oh, well, I'm a big pothead. I mean, my kids are here. They're in their rooms though, obviously. So the zoo, you'll probably see one of my kids pop in and out sometime. But
your bodyguard and your agent, right?
Yeah. There's been a change in
management.
In what do you call that? Yeah.
A reorg?
Yeah, there's a reorg. So it's now my manager, my publicist, and now I have a security guard.
Is that the dog?
No, actually, that's the head of security is the dog.
Good. He looks terrifying.
Yeah, and it's the littlest one. No, because I got a man now, and he's big enough to be my security guard. He actually went to one of my shows.
And that's how you met him?
No.
Oh, okay.
It gets even weirder. You've heard some of my jokes about
of
my first, second, third ex-husband, right?
The DJ.
Right. There's number 3. See, paying attention. I love you. I love you, Amanda. And so my second ex-husband, which is the father of my children, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but no one really listens to this podcast anyways. Honestly, I'll be surprised. Yet. I know. I bet you once we put this headline on this podcast, we're going to be we're going to watch that. Boom, goes viral. Now everyone knows. But no better way to talk about it. I mean, I'm an open book. I'm a carefree person. So how I met him was he used to work with my ex-husband 15 years ago.
Okay. Statute of limitations.
Right. Thank you. I'm gonna borrow that. Okay. Yeah. And so 15 years later, fast forward, I've always found him attractive, but obviously when I was married, it was nothing like that.
Yeah, it wasn't at the forefront. It was
Right.
like some subconscious like
Right. Like he's attractive.
cabinet.
Yeah, he's attractive, whatever. And he was always very nice. And anyone that I knew that knew him has always said he is so nice. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
He was nice to me.
In your life, yeah.
So then I shot my shot and I just asked him out on a date. And I was just like, this is going to be weird, but
Because you've known him for so long? Or
well,
like
because he knew my
associated
it's just guilty by association type of thing. You know what I mean? And but I wanted to bite the bullet because I don't think he's a good guy. I don't think I ever saw him doing that to me. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shoot my shot. And we went on a couple of dates and I mean, he already knew my kids. Because he would be at their birthday parties or whatever.
Like watching them grow up.
He helped me move. Me and my ex-husband move.
Wow.
Like I don't remember that obviously, but I mean not obviously. I don't remember that, but that's how close he was to my ex.
To your life.
To my life, right?
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like standing from afar, and
Yeah.
So we were embracing this like really cool friendship and kind of getting to know each other. So I'm excited. Which didn't you go out of the country? Did you go on a trip?
I got back from Austin yesterday.
Before that?
Summer, I went to Spain and Sweden.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Spain and how was that?
It was amazing because...
I think that was the last time I seen you from Foxtail. I think you're like,
wow.
we're leaving. Yeah.
Yeah, I met my long lost, actually not even lost because that implies I knew them once.
And then you lost them, right?
Right. I mean, like we lost them generations ago because like the bloodline scattered like as refugees after the concentration camps.
Right.
And my family fled to New York, but some of them fled to Stockholm. And so through like the Holocaust Center and Ancestry.com, we just discovered all this family we have.
That's so awesome.
And we like our grandfathers were, cousins. Like it's not like crazy separation.
Right. Like
we're second cousins once removed.
I think. Yeah.
And so it's really crazy because we saw each other and we looked similar and we had all these like freakish similarities that like don't make any sense because we never knew each other existed.
Right. But it's obviously in the bloodlines, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, like some of this nonsense like is transferred like genetically that you wouldn't expect. You thought it was nurture, but it's nature also.
Right.
So it was pretty surreal. So that was a pretty excellent.
And would you say this was
discovery.
On the mom side, dad side, both sides? Mom side.
And so she's discovering all this new family in like Berlin, Buenos Aires, more in Israel, like some in other parts of the US. And so I'm like, wow, where can I get an excuse to go schlep to next to meet some new connections?
And you speak Spanish?
I do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember you saying that you speak Spanish.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. And did you ever have to use it? I mean, leaving the country.
I mean, so I studied abroad in Spain, and that's how
so cool.
it got solidified. I mean, like, of course, most Americans, we take some language in high school, forget it all, like, as we're graduating.
Right. So
the reason it's solidified is because I stayed in my semester abroad with a host mom that didn't speak English, like specifically.
So you had to use
I had to
it.
force myself.
That's so cool, though.
Yeah,
I'm sure you picked it up pretty quickly, right?
That's how. Like you have to beat it into yourself.
Right.
And then I married a Spanish man. So
how cute.
So I try to make myself speak Spanish with him. I get lazy most of the time, but my in-laws, when they come stay with us for a month, they don't really speak English. So I get to solidify it again.
That's dope. That's dope. I love that. I mean, it makes you very cultured, right? You know what I mean? Like I speak Spanish. I mean, but it's not really Spanish. Like it's just like very like elementary. And the reason why I'm able to pick it up was because I'm Filipino and Tagalog is something similar. Yeah, it's kind of similar because we were Spaniards, right? So we speak a little bit of Spanish. And then as much as we have our own like counting, like isa, dalawa, tatlo, which means 1, 2, 3, right? In Tagalog. But we actually use Spanish numbers. So uno, dos, tres. Like how many do you need? Tres. Like we'll say it in Spanish instead, which is kind of interesting, right? But I think it's more the Americanized Filipinos out here. Because if you go to the Philippines, they'll count in Tagalog.
Do they do any Spanish?
Yeah, basura, right? Like things like
Oh
that.
my gosh.
Yeah, like so there's certain words that they use that is full on Spanish.
Just like stuck.
Yeah, like como estás, right? But we say
Okay.
kamusta.
Close enough.
Exactly. Like I'm sure if you put us together, like we would be able to communicate.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
like Spanish and Portuguese. Like if
Right.
they basically understand each other.
Yeah. And Portuguese is like, it's a very distinctive language
It
too.
is.
And same with Spanish. Like you can tell, like, I think they're speaking Portuguese, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, hopefully I've been trying to tell my kids that once you hear the dogs barking, like pay attention to them. And so far it's not working.
Oh, to
like either let them out, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
do they
Sounds like-
speak other languages?
my kids, no. No. I mean, they can understand some Tagalog.
Yeah.
But not because I teach it, because my mom's like yelling at them or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, which is still cool. And then my daughter is learning Spanish in school.
Yeah.
Right. So that kind of helps too.
Yep.
But I wish they wanted to learn it more, you know.
They'll wish they did.
I know.
later.
I wish I did, but I mean, I'm
Yes.
glad I still got away with what I do know. You know what I mean? Like,
So
even
you're
though,
like passable, like with your
Right.
mom.
Right. Like I could have a conversation with my mom. I just sound very, very elementary.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like a child. And that's fine. Like you could drop me in the Philippines. Everyone know I'm American. Like they're like, this bitch is not from here. She doesn't look
Yeah.
like us. We don't claim her. I'm like, I know. It's okay.
She doesn't like you. You wouldn't look like. Oh, why? Because
Well, I look like my mom. Yes.
Okay.
Because of the way I dress, the way
Yeah.
I dress. Like even they say I don't look Filipino, which I think is weird.
Like your
Because
shape has
my
morphed as
eyes,
you've been
my
here?
eyes, I don't know, my eyes are different. Like my parents' facial features made me look Japanese, Chinese, Korean, everything but Filipino. My parents look Filipino. Actually, my mom probably looks more Chinese because
Okay.
she's like lighter complected.
Ah.
Yeah, she's lighter complected, and her eye slant is different than like other Filipinos. And I don't know if
Okay.
it's because what part of the Philippines
Oh.
we're from too, because I want to say like we can tell if they're from a certain part of the Philippines, like either by the dialect or the skin color, the tone.
Right.
Yeah, and then we're like, oh yeah, they're from Ilocos.
So you have like a Pantone chart of
Right.
the
Yeah.
different
Not really a chart. We just know like our friends, like, oh, they're
Yes.
Ilocano. And I'm like, oh yeah. And there's a Bisaya. There's like 52 different dialects in the Philippines. So there's only
Wow.
right. And I want to say there's even more like I think like in India too. And I had no freaking idea. And which makes sense because there's different provinces, right? Different cultures, but they're still all one ethnic background in the end. They're all from the Philippines.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
they're all from the Philippines, but they do speak different languages. So there's been Filipinos that are together, and I see them having a hard time communicating with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my mom, I was like, why don't they just speak Tagalog to each other? And she's like, because that guy doesn't speak Tagalog. I'm all, what?
Oh.
I was like, what does he speak? She's like, oh, he speaks Bisaya. And I'm like,
But Tagalog is like the
main
overarching-
general
that's
language.
like,
It's the general language that
like
most
Hindi
people.
in India.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like most people know it, but not everyone knows it. Like
Yeah.
if they're raised in a province and they're only from that, like maybe they can grasp some words, or they just prefer to speak their language. I mean, but to me, I'm just kind of like, I'm happy I can read it, I can write it, I can speak it, like
Yeah.
just enough. And I wish I could be passed on to generations, because now with technology, it's like, oh, we have this now. Google translators.
Yep.
People are so, I'm like, oh, that's genius. I didn't even think of using, and then until someone did it with me.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I know what you're talking about. You're looking for laundry
Yeah.
detergent?
You're talking through your phones
Yeah.
next to each other.
And it's great.
Yeah.
It's such a
It's
great
beautiful.
way, to be able to communicate. Because I really think that's what's going to help this world, just proper communication, helping people properly communicate
Right.
without being crazy.
Totally.
I mean, I know our emotions kind of get wrapped in and then we start screaming or whatever, but we don't have to, you know what I mean? Sometimes I don't think you have to scream.
I'm glad you're talking about the Philippines because I've never been. I would love to go.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
And I have like essentially a family member who's Filipino.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she, my mom's mom, I call her my grandma. She was in Auschwitz. She wrote a book about it. She was, incredibly affected by it, and we were best friends. She was like my best friend for many years, and so towards the end of her life, she had a live-in caretaker who was this just lovely Filipino woman.
Oh, okay.
And
she's considered family.
she really was because grandma felt so comfortable with her. So like Lydia was like in all of our, family events, and we kept in touch with her after. She hadn't been back in like decades because she was here, you know, making money, being a wonderful
and sending money
caretaker
to the Philippines, I'm sure.
So as she was like, you know, getting older, my mom, who's still in touch with her and who feels very grateful to her to this day, was just like, Lydia, go home. Like meet your grandkids, you know? And so she finally went back and now she's like with her entire brood.
Yeah.
Like, back home after decades.
Yeah. That's how the culture is. I mean, my grandma did the same thing.
Oh, really?
But she came here with my mom. So my mom is the oldest of 7. And so my mom, out of the 7, came to America. And then when my grandpa passed away, my grandma was like, I'm going to go over there.
Followed your mom.
Yeah. And so she came over and then her visa expired. And so at that point, she was just kind of like chilling.
Yeah.
And she enjoyed it, but she did the same thing. She was a caregiver at the age of 85. I mean, she's older. I think she's like 86 now. 85, she was caregiving.
Yep. That's like Lydia.
Yeah. And then, you know, once her visa expired and my mom's like, okay, you need to go home to your other kids. Like this was all fun, you know, but you have other grandkids out there too.
Yeah.
And then she was on a plane back. Yeah.
Okay.
And been there ever since, but it was about the same thing, about good 20 years. Yeah.
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 It was surreal because you said like, it's the beautiful thing that the phone and tech is connecting us. Like Lydia,
I'm sure Facebook
discovered Facebook.
Yeah.
Yes. And she posts like the cutest, like, she's even above Boomer. What's the one above that? The Lost Generation? No,
I have no idea. I'm the worst.
The
at
Greatest Generation, I think it's called.
Yeah.
But she would post this like very like religious pictures and stuff.
Of the Santa Maria.
And I was like, I had no idea you were religious, but now all of Facebook knows.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because in the Filipino culture, I mean, I was like, I don't know, in my 30s when I found this out. Where there's like a statue that they all like donate to, like, and it just gets passed around.
Donate to the statue?
Like the statue. Someone houses the statue, and I
Yeah.
think they make donations to the statue, and it's called a Santa Maria.
Whoa, okay.
And then it just goes from house to house, and then everyone comes to that house to pray with it. I never really understood. I mean, I'm Catholic, but I don't really practice. So then when I found that out, my mom would say, oh, we're going to your tita's house because her Santa Maria is there. I was like, who's there? Like, who's there? You know, the Santa
Is she
Maria.
hungry?
Yeah, the Santa Maria. I'm like, and so it was funny because, I mean, when I was little, I remember going to my aunt's, but I never paid attention to this freaking statue. You know what I mean?
Right.
Until now, and I'm like, oh, that's what that is. And I'm sure that's probably what you were taking pictures of. You're used to probably seeing in the pictures. Yeah.
So you said teta is your
Tita
aunt?
is, yeah,
Exactly,
auntie.
like
yeah.
tia.
Yeah.
In
Yeah, it's
Spanish.
in Spanish. Exactly. We just added a letter, right? Hold on one second. Girls. They probably can't even hear me. It's all right. I'm just going to text message them. I don't know if he needs to go to the bathroom or what, but dogs are.
Does he want to just like chill on a bed here? You think?
Oh, no, he's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just want him to stop barking, and I'm sure he's very good at communicating like what he needs. You know what I mean? And he also probably wants to be in here. They should be coming out in a second. Anyways,
He probably smells my dogs.
yeah, he's like, there's dogs in there.
Dog
yeah,
lady.
yeah. let her out. Yeah.
Help, dogs!
Yeah.
The ex is trapping me in here.
Yeah. They're like, what are you doing, Mom? Yeah. And, you know, I didn't realize until like a couple of days ago that sometimes what's on TV, the dogs react to, right?
Yes.
And I didn't realize it until there was like a kid screaming on the TV, and then he's just watching me, and then you're just like, help. And then he starts barking, and he's looking at me, and he's like, who's screaming for help? And I'm like,
Are you
"It's the
evil? There's a child screaming.
yeah." And then I open the door, and then he's like looking at the TV, and he's like looking at me. I'm like, yeah, everything's cool. I love how animals watch TV and stuff. Well, you said you have fur babies too.
I do. I have two little guys. So Sherman came with my husband as delightful baggage. They've been together for like a decade.
Yeah.
And then Perry, short for Perrito, little dog,
Yeah.
blessed me with his presence a year and a half ago.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a pup. And I was like, of course, like, basic bitch, I want a puppy. But like, puppies are hard.
Yeah. I think animals in general, like raising something, you know, because we barely can raise ourselves. Like, I'm surprised I have, you know, kids every time. I'm like, yeah, I made it another freaking day, you know? And then I have these animals now and I'm just like, let's just stick it through.
Well, what do you think? Is it comparable? Like raising the animals and then the kids, the humans?
I mean, I feel like if I can do it, I feel like anyone can do it. It just takes you wanting to do it.
Yeah.
Like, and the reason why I have so many pets, well, that's not how it started off, right? I mean, it always starts off with one or two. And that's what it was. It was 2 cats. But before that, I had 2 dogs.
Okay.
And then they passed away, not too far from each other. And then me and my second ex-husband, we went through a separation and I was getting like super depressed because we had 50-50 custody with my kids. So a lot of times I was alone. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give you for your birthday cats. So then I went and found these cats on Craigslist and I knew they were meant to be ours because the little lady opens the door and she's like, oh, here are the cats. And I was like, oh, she's Filipino. It's meant to be. And then when she put him in the box, she's like, this is the boy and this is the girl. So I automatically identified gray boy, orange girl, right?
Huh.
And then when I put him, when I get home, I'm like, girls, happy birthday. You know, they're like, yeah, kitties.
Oh.
And we named him Jack and Jill, right?
Perfect.
A week later, after calling them consistently Jack and Jill being the girl, Jack being the boy, I see that he has balls. And I was like, what the fuck is that? I was like, and then people were like, you better get your cats neutered and spayed. If it's one girl, one boy, they're going to fuck. And I was like, oh my gosh, but they're brother and sister. Like, they don't fucking care. And I was like, oh my God, that's so gross. Okay, let me go get them fixed. So I got them fixed. And then, I mean, it already had been a week that I was calling Jack and Jill. So Jack is the girl and Jill's the boy.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, and everyone's
perfect.
like, wait, Jill's the boy? I'm like, yeah, he
Got
likes
a problem?
it. Yeah, he loves it, all right? He loves his name. So yeah, that was one of my kids. She like came out, didn't really. Here, let me see. I was going to tell you, just grab Yogi if he starts barking or let him out. Did you let him out? I don't know if he needs to get let out. Okay. Yep. This is what happens when you have a podcast in your house.
He just wants to get in on the party. I love your abode, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It's like, what a lovely layout.
Thank you. You know, it took me a long time to get here and I love it and I'm utilizing the space. I don't see myself leaving here anytime soon either. Like,
Great.
why not? Why?
Yeah.
Why? I like, so if I'm not doing shows, this is where I'm at. And I know on social media, it makes it look like I'm doing so much, but I'm not. I'm just at home.
You're not DTM. You're not doing too much.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. Yeah. I'm just chilling at home. And you know, that has been a big focus on my mental health. Like I said, my animals, and I didn't even know I was going through mental challenges until like I was, I don't know, in my late 20s.
Wow.
And then from then I've been doing therapy and all that stuff. And then I started doing comedy, and then it led me to this podcast, which I started like years ago, and then I like let it simmer off. And then when the pandemic happened, right?
Yeah.
I was like, let's bring it back.
How did it reveal itself to you, like that you were like, wait a second, I guess this can be characterized as mental health stuff?
I think where it was more an emphasis on mental health is like during the pandemic, because a lot of people were going through depression. A lot of people were isolated. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the fact that me and my ex were still 50-50, right? And that was one of my questions. I was like, okay, we got to stay in place. What about people who have blended families or 2 households? Like they're just going to stay there the whole year. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And it wasn't. We were like, okay, we're going to drop off and pick up the kid. You know what I mean? And it was fine. Everyone was fine. Like,
because you were still the same bubble.
Yeah. It was still the same associated people, which is funny because they all got COVID. My ex-husband got COVID. My other ex-husband, my kids, like they all got COVID during that 2-year period, and I didn't, which was very interesting because we were transporting the disease back and forth.
The hosts.
Yeah. And I was like, you know, I didn't care. I was like, you guys are my kids. I really don't care. If I'm going to get them, I might as well just get it. So then that way you can just get it out of the way.
Right.
You know, but they're like, oh, but you might die. And I'm like, I hope not, but I think I'll be okay.
Not
and
that old.
Yeah. And I didn't get it. And I always had a theory because from my understanding when it first came out, like it attached to healthy lungs, like a lot of athletes, a lot of
course.
and people who didn't have that good of health, right, is who it usually attacked. And in my case, I smoke like a fucking chimney. So like I felt like it could never like latch on.
There's nothing left.
Yeah. They're like, this is just like, I don't know, veins in her body. But I avoided it for quite some time, which, you know, I like to brag about until I got it. And then I was like, fuck, okay, I gotta change my joke.
Oh, okay. It's like rotate it out of your set.
Or like adjust it. And then, okay, well then I got it, you know? So.
Do you know who on the scene does a joke about that? Someone like, whoever hasn't had COVID yet, like, you're such a loser. Like,
no.
Yeah, like,
they're from the Bay?
I mean, they must be. This is where I've only
heard it.
Done my career in comedy. They were just like, that literally means you've done like nothing social for the past 3 years.
That's not true.
Yeah, I mean, most of things people say on stage
which I think is funny. I was out even when COVID was happening. Like I was still doing shows. And I still traveled.
They were existing?
Yeah, there was a lot of parking lot shows.
Yes, I went to one. Yes.
Yeah, there was some in Santa Cruz. There was some in the East Bay. And then when they announced it, it was like March of 2020. And we had already, me and my parents had already, and my kids already planned a trip to Vegas in July. And we still went.
For a show?
No, just to go on vacation.
Okay.
But it was like
hotels were open?
Yeah, they were open. The casinos were open. Like it was a ghost town, but it was kind of cool because it was like, okay, we actually could go do stuff. They weren't strict. Like they made you mask up and they checked everyone's temperature walking through the thing. So they were practicing safe measures. We didn't get it while I was out there, but that's how I started my old podcast. So there was a podcast that I was on called The Lit. Me and another comic who met like one time, right? And then through social media, we both found out we were going to Vegas.
Oh.
So we both went to Vegas at the same time, but not together. We never saw each other. And then we both came home at the same time. And he ended up getting COVID and I didn't. In Vegas. Well, that was his only thought. That was the only place he was at last. And then when he got back, you know how, because it takes like time for it to show up too, or for you to show symptoms. And then he tested and he had positive for COVID. And I was like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I heard of people isolating and then getting it from like the delivery guy. People are like, I never left my house.
Yeah, right? Which is crazy. I don't know. This whole thing is crazy. And now it's like, oh, it's just like a flu now, which, okay, fine. Yeah. I mean, we're still spending money on the stupid test. You know what I mean?
And like the annual vaccine is like the flu now,
you
know, or annual or biannual, depending on the variant.
Yeah. But do you get a flu shot every year?
So I got vaccinated for COVID, but it actually had this weird effect on me that happened to like up to 25% of women. It made my periods crampy again.
I heard about that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've heard about that. It didn't happen to me, but I heard. I
kind of like when people have heard about it. I'm like, it makes me feel validated.
Yeah, no.
You know?
Yeah, I've heard about that and other symptoms too from like the vaccination or even getting COVID too. There was a change. So I'm not surprised. And I've heard a couple women, they're like, yeah, my period is different. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Like, thankfully, I don't think I got anything like from COVID itself.
Yeah.
But the vaccine, like, so as a child, like when I got my period decades ago, I had these debilitating cramps. I would have to take off school sometimes. Birth control pill knocked them right out.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Being off birth control still knocked him out until the vaccine, and now they're back.
Wow. Yeah. It kind of like turned on something.
They're saying it's like due to some like uterine inflammation.
Yeah.
And that it should subside over time, and it has, but it's not gone to the level it was before the vaccine. So. Yeah. Anyway, that was like a not fun side effect to that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you get COVID once, twice? How many times?
Probably twice.
Twice? Oh my gosh, that's
twice.
crazy.
Like once in the past. Once was like a month ago.
Yeah.
And the other one was like last year. So
yeah, I got my first thing. I think like maybe a couple of months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
I know. I was like, okay, what is it about? And it was crazy because I didn't get any of the things that everyone else. No, I didn't get any of those symptoms. So what happened was the day before I got sick. Like I couldn't even like walk, right? And that day I tested because I was going to visit my friend at the hospital. And so I tested negative. And then that night I was like, dude, I feel hella sick. Took some NyQuil. Woke up in the middle of the day, like in the evening, right? And I was like, okay, I'm fine now. Next day in the morning, I tested and I was positive, and it was positive for a week. But mind you, I didn't have any more symptoms.
Whoa.
No symptoms. I taste everything. Everything's fine. I wasn't congested. I didn't have I didn't have a headache. Like all those things I had that one day. I felt like I was dying. Like as I was driving home after visiting my friend at the hospital, I was like, how am I going to make it home? I feel like I'm just going to collapse right now. So as soon as I got home, I just knocked out, and then I got up and I was like, okay, so don't feel good. The NyQuil, boom.
But now does your phone work better because of the 5G that's in your blood?
Oh my God. Is that what's happening?
No, that was like all the.
I feel like that's why my arm feels bionic now.
And like there's Christmas lights coming out of my ears. No, but that was like all the rage in 2020. Just talking about the conspiracies of the vaccines.
Oh my gosh, I know. Oh, we're magnetic.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
That would be fun. And then like whoever you were attracted to, that's how you knew it was your. Have you seen the conspiracy like cult?
What
show Twin Flames universe?
No.
So anyway, are you into like culty?
I'm into watching the
documentaries.
Yes. So this is a new one. What is this one about?
That if you join and give them all your money, that
sounds like most cults.
Yeah. Yes, that's a prerequisite. But this one's like that you find your like soul that you're meant to be with.
What? And they guarantee that.
They do, but then they were like, well, maybe it's not. So anyway.
Did they have to share their soulmates?
Oh, that's a good, that would be like the other cult ones where it was like one husband and 80
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Keep sweet, pray, obey, I think.
I forget which one, but there's even ones where they're giving their kids off, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And there's even the kids that have escaped from cults too that I saw in the freaking, is it Hulu? What are you primarily watching?
This one was Netflix.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, this is fascinating. I mean, I don't want to spoil it.
No, you're okay. I think if it's really good, like it'll still be good, because I'll forget after this podcast. I'll be like, what was the name of that show?
Get high and like erase the memories.
And then if I see it, I'll be flipping. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what she was talking about. Yeah.
So eventually people were like, where's my eternal flame? I've been like paying you all I have for 4 years. Sorry, twin flame. And it turns out that they were like, okay, crap, what are we going to do? So everyone who was in it were mostly women, which says a lot. Like the women are the ones that were
looking
like,
for love. Yeah.
And so they started telling people like, guess what, women, you're a divine masculine. And so some of the women started transitioning.
Right.
When they've never had thoughts that they were trans in their lives.
But because they were
told.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually your divine feminine partner.
And like that.
This person. And then they were like they got top surgery. They got
way
mastectomies, like took hormones.
That's crazy.
Changed everything about the way they talked, dressed, haircut. Like,
do they talk about post cult too on the show?
That's the thing. It's still
It's still going.
So,
oh my gosh.
So me and my best friend went to Austin this past weekend, and like the night activity would be watching this cult show after we got back from the bars, the speakeasies and the comedy shows. And so we would come home, and then finally at the end we're like, okay, now we can Google.
Yeah.
And so it turns out it's totally still like alive and well.
What?
Yeah. And so they just had a baby, the two cult leaders, and they're like, we are already disciplining her. She's like an infant. Like, this is scary.
My God.
This is scary stuff.
Are they still posting it too?
Yeah, no, I just saw like he put a story up like
on few social media
ago. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because usually when you see this cult stuff, they've already been like dismantled and somebody's in prison.
Right.
And like somebody has a class
action
lawsuit
now we're watching and waiting for this to
Yes.
happen. Is anyone like reporting anything?
So
I'm
all
sure
the mothers who like lost their children essentially because like most cults, they said like, your family's out to get you, like denounce them, like
so you can
cut all contact with your families.
Right?
Yeah. So there are
typical abusers.
A mother group that like is trying to get a legal case together. But
okay, that's good. And that's part of the documentary, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They need to infiltrate.
They're trying.
That's crazy. What state is this happening
in? Michigan.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's like right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was thinking it's going to be like, I don't know, a different state.
Yeah. I mean, the ones we've heard of with stuff, it's like Utah.
Right. That's what I was expecting. That's like Wyoming. You know what I mean? Like that's what I was expecting. Like, yeah, that area. I mean, not like I'm just saying, but like that's what I was expecting. Yeah, I love shows like that. But I'm like a horror person, so I love watching like horror. I watch a lot of horror movies, a lot of horror shows.
Around Halloween or always?
Always.
Okay.
And you know what's funny? This is the first year where I didn't watch like 30 days of horror because I usually like just binge watch. Like I'll play a movie at least in the background.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
but
like a background thing for you?
Yeah. Oh, I'll fall asleep. And my ex-husband thought I was demented because there would be like someone screaming, right? And I'm just like,
lullaby.
he's like, how can you sleep through this shit? I'm like,
And then your dog starts yelling at you.
yeah, and then I'll wake up. I'll be like, what? Okay, she needs something. He needs something. But yeah, I typically watch horror, but I'm into like the real stuff, like documentaries, like things that like Dateline, stuff like that. I love watching stuff like that because
like
it's
unsolved
real.
mysteries.
I like watching unsolved mysteries. I don't like watching the new one. I haven't tried it yet.
Oh,
but
I
watched,
mean the one from like the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those are the ones I love. X-Files. I mean that wasn't real, but you know what I mean. I love the storyline, the whole Mulder and Scully.
I won't tell Scully you just said that
Okay.
wasn't real.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, I love shows like that. And so what do you typically watch? I mean, you said you watch the cult ones. What is on your Netflix? If we could pop up your Netflix and things you've watched.
There's just nothing more masterful than like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Those are I love Better Call Saul.
I still follow like Aaron Paul. They have like a mezcal company now that they like share together.
That's like an alcohol?
Yeah. Like Walter White and Jesse Pinkman.
That's dope.
I just love to see them bro out on
right.
Instagram together. It's
That's
one of
so
those
cute.
like what do you call that? Like a golden couple when they're just different generations and they're like besties.
Yeah, I heard that terminology recently, like golden something, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Golden shower, I think.
Yeah. Okay, that's a different one. I was like, I don't know if I want that shower. You know,
fine.
I do have to make a confession. I'm probably the only person on earth who hasn't watched Breaking Bad because I'm the type of person I want to wait for the shows to end.
Oh, they're very over.
Yeah, and now they're over, and
Yeah.
I don't like watching it when everyone's hyping it up. Like Game of
Really?
Thrones, I didn't like watching it when everyone was like, "Yeah, let's watch it." I kind of waited till like it was like almost over, and then I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna watch it." And Breaking Bad was one of the ones I wanted to watch, but I did watch Better Call Saul,
Yes.
and I love that show. So I'm like, they're like, then you have to watch Breaking Bad because it's so much better.
I'm kind of envious that because that's the right order chronologically.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Better Call Saul's the prequel.
Oh, no way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I haven't seen Breaking Bad, but everyone's like, you got to watch it. And so now like, I'm just waiting for myself to be like, just be able to binge. Cause that's the type of watcher I am. I'm like, I have to binge and like, I don't want any interruptions.
Right.
Like, I just want to keep watching it. So like, probably I won't be a gate at my house for like a week or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Just like constantly playing.
It's so funny because I'm the opposite. Like I always mourned that I watched Lost like after the Zeitgeist because
You were a Lost fan.
until the last season. Don't get me started.
Okay, no, because my brother, he just started rewatching it, and I'm like the annoying sister that, what happened? Who is that? And he's like, dude, just watch the whole show. And he's a big Lost fan. He's a big Lost
The
fan.
first
So that's
couple
awesome.
seasons are like masterpieces.
Yeah.
But the last ones are like
How many seasons were there?
embarrassing. I think 6.
Oh, okay.
And the
So
first
there's enough.
4 were wonderful.
Okay. Don't you
But
hate
it
it
was
when they
one
do
of
that?
the ones where they got to the end. They were like, "Crap, there are too many unanswered questions. Let's just make it all a dream." Sure, that answers everything.
Yeah. No, and it's funny that you say that because I feel like they do that a lot. Sometimes with some shows, you're just like, it's great. Like the first couple of seasons, the first few seasons, then all of a sudden you're like, what the fuck happened? Like what's going on? And then it picks back up, or it's just, to me, I just lose interest. And I'm like, I'll just wait for it to be over
Yeah.
to watch it.
But like I enjoyed like watching Dexter with the
Oh,
world
yeah.
because I had a Dexter themed series finale where I like covered the floor. I covered everything in saran wrap.
How cute.
I served Jello shots and then I like taped body shapes on the floor.
That is so cute.
Too bad it was one of the worst series finales ever made.
Oh no.
So it was more like a comedy party than.
That's how I feel like with Jerry Seinfeld.
I knew you were going to say that because that is the other worst one.
Right?
Yeah.
The ending was like, are you serious? Like they go to jail or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was disappointing.
Yeah.
For such a masterpiece.
Yeah. So I was kind of bummed like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's an account I follow on Instagram called Modern Seinfeld. And
Oh,
they
how
just like
funny.
make the new like Kramer, won't follow this guy on TikTok because he like slighted him at the dentist, like things like that.
Yeah.
And they're so funny and brilliant.
That's funny. Is it like acting Kramer, or is it like it's a Kramer is like actually Kramer.
You know, it's
and
just
they're
like a
adding in-
text. It's just like a paragraph saying what the plot of like a modern
got it,
episode would be.
Yeah. How funny.
It's
That's
very,
cute.
very well done.
Yeah.
And there's been nothing like Seinfeld since.
No, there isn't. My brother loves Curb Your Enthusiasm.
It's like Seinfeld on steroids.
Right. Like that's why he tells me all the time, you got to watch it because it's really a Seinfeld. I mean,
it is
his life, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's his life that he
Larry
put on
David.
Seinfeld, right? Or something like that,
Yes.
right? Okay.
There's actually episodes of Curb with the cast of Seinfeld.
See, that's one of the
very
reasons.
meta.
Okay, see that I have to watch something like that. Yeah.
So when I always group Seinfeld and Friends in my head because
Yeah.
growing up they
were the
both
shows.
Thursday night right after each other, and so obviously like with Matthew Perry's
I know, R.I.P.
death recently, I found a podcast called The Last Days where it's like about celebrities dying, and or like the like right
what happened.
Yeah. And so, I mean, they don't talk about the death as much. They talk about like his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he was just like one of the funniest guys in Hollywood.
Of course he was.
But even though like his career never really took off after
Right.
Friends. And speaking of like mental health and comedy, what he said really resonated to me, which was essentially he wasn't ever really like he was chasing the dragon of happiness. Like he just like lived for the laughs, and like when he wasn't getting other people to laugh, like he just like didn't feel good about himself.
Right.
Was this podcast interpretation? But basically before like the show, because it was filmed in front of a live audience, he would go out there and like do impromptu stand up to just roar up the crowd, and the rest of the five of them would be like, I'm good, thanks. Like, I'm not getting paid for that. And like, I have shit to prepare for.
Right.
But like Matthew Perry would just like live for the laughs.
Right.
And so it would actually like make him depressed. And there was like all the
Especially when the show
addiction
ended.
involved. And they think a lot of it is tied up in that like not being known for being funny anymore. And I just hope not to get there with my comedy.
Right. Yeah. I think comedy is a weird occupation.
Yeah.
It's a fun one. And but I feel like with at least to me, 95% of the comedians, we deal with a lot of mental health.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why we're here, and we want to talk about it, you know? And I think this is the first, just like how you said you moved to the West Coast, right? And you're like, hey, I fit right in. Like, that's how I felt about the comedy scene. Like, because I never felt like I fit in growing up.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't like a cheerleader. I wasn't a jock. Like, I was a little bit of a nerd, I still just didn't fit in, even with the Asian people, like my own people. Like I just still didn't feel like I fit in. And then once I joined comedy, I felt like I fit right in. I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
With like the just kind of like the regulars that you see at the open mics and stuff.
The regulars that I see at the open mics, the venues. Like building that relationship with the venues, like
the bookers and the producers.
No, like the owners of the places.
Yep. Okay.
The owners of the places, like building a relationship with just those people. It's because they're the community.
Yeah.
Like we're comics. We travel wherever, however, for whatever amount of time. We'll do it. We don't care. Oh, we don't even ask about pay sometimes. We're just like, I'm there. What day is it? What time is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I just need to make sure what time I can leave.
You're scared to ask about pay because you'll scare them away.
Yeah,
something.
or you might be like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in the end, like to me, it wasn't about the money. It was about getting the exposure, getting experience, getting all of that information out there and just loving it. And that's why I can see why Matthew Perry like live for the laughs, because when I was going through my darkest parts, like doing my divorce, right? And hence why I got all the animals, but it still wasn't enough, And so I realized that comedy was one of the key things that was missing in my life, because I was like spiraling. I was like by myself. I mean, what a lot of people don't know is that I was literally by myself, like during the holidays. Like, and I have family. I could have went and seen my family, but it's just not the same because my family wasn't going through what I was going through, and they just couldn't understand. Like, they're just like, just shake it off.
Drink it off.
Yeah, drink it off, smoke it off. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, but I don't want to do that. Like, I didn't want to do that. And getting into comedy, I felt like this is where I'm supposed to be. And
yeah, I mean, like sometimes being around people that aren't going through what you're going through makes you feel even more alone than being physically alone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's mental health, because you're just like, fuck no, no one understands what what I'm actually feeling. And it sucks when people are like, snap out of it. And I'm like, trust me.
Oh, good point. Didn't think of that.
Yeah. I was like, I missed that train. Is it still coming through? Like, and this podcast is a big advocate for mental health. And I'm hoping that people listen to this, they're like, holy shit, we're thinking the same thing, and understand that they're not alone. And I wish we knew that stuff about Matthew Perry, before, which sucks, because like maybe that could have been like, okay, motivate him to kind of still do something in that similar line of work where he's still feeding that soul of his through laughter,
I mean, apparently like a lot of missed opportunities were because of his addiction issues.
Oh yeah. See, and that was one of the biggest challenges, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like as kids, we all saw it in Friends when we were like, oh my God, he's super overweight this season. Oh my God, he's super emaciated this season. Yeah. And then like vaguely we're like, it's because of drugs. Yeah. Tabloids were like, it's drugs. We're like, what are you talking about? That's Chandler. That's Chandler Bong.
He doesn't do drugs on the show.
Yeah. He's like the wholesome, like, could it be more wrong?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So that's our guy.
Yeah. R.I.P. Matthew Perry. It's crazy. To me, it's just like life is so short. Laugh, enjoy life, show way more love than anything else. At least in my opinion. Some people would rather show hate, and that's fine. Whatever floats your boat. But to me, I feel like love will always win, no matter how crazy things are.
Yeah.
Even loving yourself.
Yes, that's the key. That it's kind of like the hardest.
It is
species of love.
Yeah. Especially yourself.
Because since we grew up like not fitting in, you kind of learned that you never learned that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then once you do, you're like, I'm not going to let it go, because you're changed now at that point. I feel like, it's a transition in life once you're able to identify that and kind of get past it. So shout out to the Friends crew, because I'm sure they're probably feeling that, but at the same time, it's like I'm so glad we still have their shows. Everyone knows Friends.
Timeless classics.
Yeah, even in other countries, like in different languages. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I'm hoping my comedy kind of does the same thing to other people. But knowing my luck, people are going to have snaps of me doing something stupid.
So you can never run for president.
Screen record. Oh, yeah, definitely not. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so my handle on all channels is A Karen Comedy. Comedy with a K. Karen with a K. All the K's, just not 3. A Karen Comedy. I'm at Rooster Teas next month and Flappers Comedy Club down in Burbank this month, this Friday. And the exciting part about that is I always thought of Burbank, California as the majestic land where Price is Right was filmed with Bob Barker.
Is it still there?
I don't know. I should try to be a contestant.
That's what I was going to say, because it's someone, I think it's Drew Carey doing it now, right?
Yeah, no one's like Bob, though.
No. Yeah. Of course, no one's ever going to be like Bob. But you should try. I was like, who knows? You might win a car or something. Like,
it's funny. Like, somewhere. I just got a bad taste in my mouth of Drew Carey as a kid decades ago.
No, why?
Because of one comment in a newspaper.
Shut up. What did it say?
George W.'s inauguration was like, it was pouring rain, and he was quoted as saying, it sucks that it was pouring rain, but today could be worse. It could be Al Gore. Was it was necessary, huh? Is this when he was already on TV? Drew, you're killing me, man. I know. And was this as he was already on TV and stuff, right? Yeah, he was already famous. Oh, man. So stuck with me and then after that, he just got to The Price is Right. He never got in. The Drew Carey show was canceled. That's right. Yeah. Because of that comment. Yeah. They're like, who's laughing now, Drew? In the rain. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing the show. Man, this was so awesome. I love having you. I love seeing you in the grind. I love seeing you continue to do work. Definitely this episode will air before you, because you're still going to be at Flappers on Friday. Flappers on Friday. And that's when you go to a wedding too.
Is that this weekend?
So actually, I'm not invited to the wedding. I'm just
What?
crashing my parents' trip in
That's
LA.
even cooler.
Yeah.
That's even cooler because
So
there's
I'm
no
like,
obligation.
You guys are doing the horror. I'm gonna hit an open mic in LA.
Yeah, which is probably gonna have a lot more laughs for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing the show. We'd love to have you back at Foxtail.
On Sundays.
Yes, on Sundays. So please come back. If you want to find out more, please visit pxcomedy.org. Every Sunday, Mondays, I have the live comedy at Foxtail, and then on Mondays I have it at Groundstack Coffee in Stockton, and then coming soon, December 6th, Comedians and Empanadas in downtown San Jose. It's going to be every Wednesday. So please come out, check out the room. It's going to be a lot of fun, and guess what? All the shows are free. So please come out. Again, my name is PX Floro, and
Amanda Karen.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Have a wonderful life.
Thanks, everyone. Buenas noches.